Welcome to the LC4500 GUI. This video demonstrates how to connect the LC4500 to the GUI and create a basic pattern sequence. The GUI requires several additional files to run: flash device parameters.txt and hitapi.dll. GUI versions 3.10 and newer also require BSL430.dll. To get started, connect your projector to power and then connect it to your computer over USB. The Keynote Photonics logo is displayed on startup, and after a few seconds, the GUI will connect to the projector automatically, and you can now use it to control the projector. For example, we can now create a pattern sequence. Change the operating mode to pattern sequence. That'll open up the pattern sequence and sequence settings tabs, and you can now make all the settings to make your own pattern sequence. So the sequence settings section contains settings for the overall sequence, such as the source of the images we're going to use. That's either going to be flash memory or the HDMI port. You can change the trigger mode from either internal external trigger or a P-Sync trigger, and then the exposure period, and that's in microseconds. So if I use 500,000, that's going to be half a second for each image in the sequence. Now for the individual pattern settings, for the first pattern, let's do red LED. Let's do the second image in flash memory and a bit depth of 8. So there's 24 bit planes, and you can see that now I can only select them in groups of 8 instead of groups of 1 since I'm an 8-bit depth. So let's use the first 8-bit planes. Let's not invert data. We are going to add a little bit of dark time after each pattern, and the insert position just tells us where in the sequence we want to insert it, and that defaults to the end always, unless you change it. So if I add the pattern to the sequence, we now have a red pattern, the second image in memory, bit planes G0 to G7, and it's an 8-bit pattern. So for the second pattern, let's do a green LED. Let's do the second group of 8-bit planes and keep everything else the same, add that to the sequence. And then for a third one, let's do a blue pattern with the last 8-bit planes. So we now have a 3-pattern sequence of red, green, and blue, all on the same image but different colors and different bit planes. So let's go ahead and send that to the projector. We have to click validate to make sure there's no errors in the sequence. That's validated correctly. So if I hit play, the sequence will start playing. And we can see this image that we're using is a 24-bit image. It's got 24 columns, each that represents a different bit plane. So you can see the red is the first 8 columns, the first 8-bit planes. Green is the second 8, and blue is the last 8. And that's just going to keep cycling through in a loop. So if I pause it partway through, and then click play, it's going to resume from where it was paused. But if I stop it and then hit play, it will start again from the beginning.